3 million years from Earth, the Red Dwarf Podcast. Thanks for the memory. Its crew, Blake Braswell, a USA native, and Lee Malaby, his English co-host. Additional. They have always said, you can't go back home. Maybe they say that because you really see how much things have changed, and you realize it can never be the same. Or maybe they just need to relax and enjoy the ride that's left. Smeg it, Hall is back. Things can only get better, right? What's up, Smegheads, and welcome to Series 7, Thanks for the Memory, a Red Dwarf podcast where we rewatch every episode of the BBC comedy show Red Dwarf and discuss them. As always, I am Blake, here with my buddy Lee.
It still amazes me, the end of Series 7, and we're still managing to come up with additionals. I know I keep saying it, but it's like they stopped doing it at the end of Series... Did they do them in Series 3? I can't remember. Holly was still there, so probably... did they? I don't know.
No, I don't know.
Maybe not.
Did.
No, I think it is. It feels like so weird. So Blake and I were talking before we recorded the last episode, because as we said before, we record these back to back, and we were talking about how long it feels like we've been doing this podcast so long, and it's been 15 months ish.
Some I'd say almost a year and a half, somewhere in there. Yeah,
and I was like, oh, we must be nearly finished. So when I'd finished watching these two episodes, I sat downstairs with Tracy, my wife, and I was like, I'm going to scroll through the next few series, see how many we've got left, and we've got 27 episodes plus the Promised Land, which is I must have seen it, I have no memory of it at all. So I'm like, that's still just over a year's worth of podcast we've got to produce. I hope damn well they get better than these. Yeah, that leans off the previous episode. It's like my intro said, they have to, right? We've had some, I don't want to say negative, because I don't think we ever come from it from a negative point of view, but more constructive, like that could have been better than it was. Body Swap being the main one. But this series is the one where we have been consecutively constructive more than any other series so far. Oh, yeah. Well, because I don't know that any of the parts and pieces are bad. Are bad. In fact, there is a... it's weird when I sometimes click on user reviews after I've watched something, like on IMDb, just to see what other people have, like, did anybody feel this way I did about a certain thing? And I think on IMDb, this episode only has one user review, but they said something I do like, which is, everybody, they were not complimentary to how the show was feeling at the moment, but they were extremely complimentary to everybody is doing the best they can with the material that they have. That is very, very true. It's funny you mentioned that, because it was in the back of my mind watching it last night. I had said to you when in the last episode, when Lister's like, my right arm, it was supposed to be my left arm. How does a navigation officer not know the difference between left and right? Nobody's phoning it in. He's right. He is right. Yeah. And I think, I said in the previous episode that they may have had this concern people wouldn't like Chloe Annette and be upset it wasn't Lister. And instead, I think she's doing the best she can with everything she's been given. And that's the problem. We said it 2 or 3 episodes ago. She's not given an awful lot to do. That's the problem. No, it's like Hattie Hayridge. Thank you. Hattie Hayridge. Thank you. I always get it mixed up because I'm never sure whether it's Hetty or Hattie, but it is Hattie because I very specifically wrote it down for this episode. But it's like her. We were like, she's actually a great Holly. She just doesn't get a lot. At all. And I hate that she never got her equivalent of like a Queeg episode. Yes. To like really be one of the main voices of the episode. And there's something to be said with that. Have we said what this episode is yet? By the way? No, we haven't. Stop before. I guess that's fine. We've already deviated off of process. We might as well, because it's probably not going to be a long episode. Careful, you say that'll be an hour and a half. But it is. I liked that review. I do agree. I agree. Everybody's doing the best they've got, and like I said in the previous episode, some of this is probably through circumstance. Did they ask for 8? Were they told you planned for 6, we'll do it for 8, or hey, we got all the plan. Oh no, now we waited too long to film. Chris Berry can't be there the whole series. We got there's, I'm sure, a million things that got in the way. Plus, I mean, just Rob Grant and Doug Naylor choosing not to work together on the show anymore, and that like they were going to work on separate projects. That also, that's probably bigger than Rimmer by far.
Yes, probably.
You know, because if you had the two of them to try and work this out, I'm not saying we like it as much, but like you know, like that might have helped.
They've got ideas to bounce off each other, but having to couple with the fact of Chris Barry not being there and losing one of the main core writers is a huge thing to deal with on something like this.
Yeah, yeah, and then shoving in a new character.
Yeah,
and again, not that she couldn't have been put in when she was, but like you didn't give her the good stuff to, you know, it's funny, her actual beginning intro is so good, and getting shot by the harpoon and being like, are you kidding me? Like, is like, yes. And then she doesn't really get that kind of stuff anymore.
No.
After that.
She's just there. She's not really like, what is her purpose? That's the thing. Like, they haven't really played, so you would expect her to come in and the whole will they, won't they thing with Lister to be something, and it's not.
No.
Like, very, very, very superficially in the background every now and again. But it's like, realistically, that's where you would expect it to go, and it hasn't at all. It's kind of played in more to, like you said on the last episode about Crichton being, oh, you love her more than I do, all of that. It's played in more to that, to Lister and Crichton's relationship more than Kochanski and Lister's relationship. But even then, not that much.
And she has none with the cat. They haven't bothered with that.
Nothing at all. I'm actually, now you've said that there, does she have any interaction with Cat at all?
Other than just being like, he's an idiot, or her explaining something and Cat being, oh, thanks. Can you say it with bigger words now? And
yeah, I don't think they've actually had a conversation, like actually spoken to each other back and forwards, actually thinking about it now.
Right.
That's weird.
Which is interesting because in her universe, she saves the cat. You know, they show her universe, the reason that Lister didn't survive or wasn't reincarnated. Remember, she's the one. It shows a flashback to her world. Yeah, and she's the one who, like, he gives the cat to, and then she keeps it. And so she's the one frozen. That's why she's the last human. So why not even just play with that like...
Yeah, that she's the reason Cat exists. So
you've got Cloister and whatever
she would be, because she would technically be his god, his goddess from another dimension. Yeah. But yet they don't interact at all.
Also, he's such a horn dog Cat, but never about her.
No.
Which I feel is weird because, and I'm not saying that actually would be a really tiresome thing to have him do the whole time, but there's not even a thing early on where she just shuts it down in such a way that he's like, or actually even that, like, what? Are you kidding? I can't be sacrilegious. Yeah. She is the god of the cats. I don't know anything. But
nothing.
They don't get anything together. There's no... Well, how would these two interact, right?
Like, you think about all the interactions that we've had in the previous series of Cat and Lister having not had a woman on board the ship for the longest time, then suddenly they've got one, and neither of them are interested, and let's be honest, she's quite attractive.
Right. I mean, and Lister is, but, like, it's so downplayed.
Yes.
Which we didn't even talk about in the previous episode, because he thinks, that is a funny bit. We mentioned it, but like her punching him in the face.
Yeah, and he starts unbuttoning his shirt, and she's like, what are you doing?
And he's like, come on, rumpy bumpy. I'll go get me Batman outfit.
Oh, yeah. Where the hell did that come from?
I don't know, but like, but yeah, she just didn't, it's a shame. Again, and it might be all predicated on one episode. There's one of those like punchlines to a episode or like part of an episode that sticks in my brain, which there's one in series 8 that like she's great with. And or it's surrounding her that I think is great, and I have this memory that they just have a better idea of what to do with her.
Yeah, they just don't know, do they? That's the problem. They just, as I said in the last episode, they've brought her in to replace Rimmer without really thinking about her place.
Well, now what you said, having looked at the original idea was in the previous episode, Rimmer was going to let the epideme virus bite him. He'd cut himself off, all this kind of thing. Well, it feels like they didn't rewrite all of it by bringing her in. They rewrote a couple of things. I would like duck soup and her appearance and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But, or was it always a plan to bring her in because they were like, for the movie, we want to get, a female character into the space, but it was still planned to be with Rim. Who knows? Again, I haven't delved into the making of these too much, which I will absolutely do once we wrap this episode up and try to learn a little bit more. But
yeah, it was interesting that this. So according to the trivia, this episode shows Lister coming to terms with losing his arm, and apparently, we're assuming that it was kind of an homage to Doug Naylor himself, who lost one of his legs in a car accident when he was young. I didn't know that.
I know, I saw that. I was like, oh, that's kind of wild.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Should we actually say what this episode is?
Have we still not got there? All right, go on then.
No, we didn't, right? It's you, actually.
Oh, it just shows where we're at with this episode. Yes, the episode we've already
we haven't done this, right?
No, we
Am
haven't.
I crazy?
You're right. No,
okay.
we haven't. Yes, so let's get this thing back on track. The episode we're discussing today, as we said, is the final episode of Series 7, Episode 8, Nanarchy, and the episode originally aired on March 7th, 1997. As Lister falls into depression over the loss of his arm, Crichton has the idea to use nanobots to grow him a new one. Only Crichton's nanobots are missing. Searching for the nanobots, the crew find Red Dwarf, which has taken on a new form. Is this the first mention we've had of Crichton having nanobots?
Yes, 'tis. Did they say it in the previous episode? Or no?
I don't think so, but it seems that's again. I don't want to all over this, but that's bad writing to suddenly go. How are we going to get? It's terrible. It's terrible.
Star Trek thing, right? Where you're like old Star Trek of like, well, wait a minute. We do know the ship's engine also runs on camelodian, and while we only use a 1% load of camelodian, that is something that is has a pheromone that this species does. You know, like.
That's a very interesting word you used there, Blake, by the way.
You like that? I was trying to make a Star Wars, Star Trek-y sounding word.
I feel like there's a lot of teenagers listening to this podcast giggling into their headphones right now.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
If there's any teenagers listening to us, I want to find out. Actually, that's just brought me to something. Enough. I'm going to put a poll up on our Facebook page. I want to know what the age range of our core audience for this podcast will be, because I'd be quite interested, actually.
I'm assuming it's close to us, but it would be cool to know if we've got some outliers.
Well, I know there's someone who's listening and watching along with his son for the first time. So I know there are some younger viewers out there. But yes, you're probably right. Our core audience would be like 40 to 50-year-old men and women.
But it is this like, and when it gets introduced, like you said, it's not even just him having nanobots. It's the idea of, oh yeah, nanobots. Yeah, we use those.
Oh yeah, all the time.
They can make anything out of anything. And it's like, well, wait.
Yeah.
Not to nitpick too hard, but you literally had an episode called Demons and Angels where he tried to create an animatter or rematter, whatever thing, to create a copy so they could get more food.
Yes.
So
why couldn't you just use the nanobots? Yeah.
That were in you, apparently, at that time. Yeah.
But were they in them at that time? Maybe you just didn't know they were missing at that point, I guess.
Well, he says no. Specifically, they rebelled against him following the Despair Squid.
Ah, okay.
So he knows they left. It was never mentioned. And I'm like, man, Old Dwarf, I feel like would have pulled something from somewhere.
Yeah, we've talked about it before, haven't we? That there's some liberties taken with certain things over the course of the 7 series we watched this, but they all generally have a rule to abide by. But then suddenly we're just going to pull something out of nowhere because it's relevant to what we need to do right now, and I hate that in stuff, honestly.
Yeah. And also, like, why did Rimmer or Lister have to rebuild Crichton at times? And like, But even if there was a mention in this series. Earlier on in this series, if there had been a mention of Lister saying, I don't know, in any previous episode, to be honest, about like, hey, the ace is dying or whatever, like Crichton, what about you? Like, what about those little nanobot thingies that when I rebuilt you, they were able to do all the little stuff I couldn't do? Do you know what I mean? And go, oh, well, sir, those, do you know what I mean? Even if that had just been said, even in the Stoke Me a Clipper episode, just so then 6 episodes later, you would get to this.
Well, think about when I can't remember which episode it was. I was just Googling it now to try and figure out which one it was. The one where Crichton ends up all mashed up on the planet and he sends his hand a tarantula bit.
Yeah.
If he's got nanobots, why don't the nanobots just rebuild him?
Right. We're not given anything. And I will say the whole premise of Series 8 hinges on these nanobots, but it is it is more fantastical than Red Dwarf sci-fi has been.
Yes. Because it's like that thing, isn't it, where we've like, you go back to, funnily enough, Thanks for the Memory, and they're down on that planet for Rimmer's death day, and he's in a hollow cage, because that's the only way they can, and then suddenly that disappears, and we just be able to be wherever we want to be at that point. It's like, yeah, there's some
yeah.
liberties taken, is what I'm saying, with certain things, but that they're forgivable because it doesn't really mean anything to the story.
With an eight episode series, you feel like they could have mentioned it in the first episode or two.
Yeah, just drop it. A little bit of foreshadowing here and there, just so it doesn't suddenly come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Because, again, not that they knew they were going to use it, so I don't care about in previous series, but like...
Just this one.
Man, just mention it somewhere in this series because it's such a big thing and it's such a big impact. Again, as I've mentioned, doing my search for Red Dwarf episodes when I was over in Japan and not knowing that there had been new series. And I think at that point up through 8 had been done. And I, watching 8, could not figure out, why is there a Red Dwarf? Why are these people? And they would mention something, and it took me a while to be able to track down the Nanarchy episode to go,
right.
Oh, that's what happened. Which for a while I thought, am I just missing like the series 3 opener where it had the crawl where you can't read anything? Man, how to walk through this episode.
So this is the first. It's like so we're talking about like arguably one of the bottom 3 episodes of Red Dwarf so far, and it's the first time we've got a on the previous episode of Red Dwarf. We've never had that before.
Something terrible happened to Mr. Listermore.
I feel like it's one of the things, as you said to me, that Crichton was your favourite character. And I'm like, I don't mind him, but he kind of annoys me. And then the more we've watched it, I've gone like, oh my God, Crichton is brilliant. And we've lost that Crichton again now.
I think because he's not brilliant anymore. He was very smart.
Yeah.
I mean, those episodes of like, Dr. Langstrom invented so-and-so and so-and-so, and it's the Mr. Flibbles episode or whatever.
God, Quarantine.
And I think this is where we see the missing of the duo of the Rob Grant, Doug Naylor.
Yeah.
Because from my little bit of research, mind you, and having read the books they both wrote, Rob Grant was the bigger, headier sci-fi concept. So again, wasn't on set. I'm making big assumptions. But it feels like things like the... what was that episode called with Mr. Flibbles and Quarantine. So if you've got Rob Grant rolling out this really big sci-fi idea of like this hollow virus and all this stuff, and then you pair that together with this situation has forced the group into quarantine, and you've got Rob Grant writing lines like, before you open that handkerchief and blow your nose.
Yes.
Like, why can't I blow my nose? Well, let's forego the nasty burbling sound and go straight to the really gross part. When you always, and I mean always, having blown your nose, open the handkerchief and look at the contents. Yeah. I mean, really, sir, why? I mean, I feel those kind of moments trying to be replicated in this series, but they don't hit because the context of the story they're trapped in isn't as good. And I don't know why Quarantine, while watching this, kept popping in my head.
Interesting.
Because it is some of my favorite just one-liners, jokes, eat cat, like, no worries. They just thought you'd gone nuts is all. Like, there's just, Mr. Flibbles is very cross. The episode is ridiculous. It's a ridiculous thing that happens, but it's couched in this believable sci-fi concept of why it's happening this way. Whereas instead, right now, I feel like I got a funny idea for a joke. Let's make a situation, as opposed to let's make a situation and what jokes can we find by putting them in there. And I know that sounds like semantics, but I think
I agree.
Second version is a stronger way of building comedy.
It's also that thing where they obviously knew where they wanted to go with Red Dwarf coming back at the end of this. So it's like, how do we get from this point to that point? So again, why not mention in the first, Kachansky shows up and you get like 2 episodes of trying to find the next tear in reality. Yep. And then that's dropped. So why not switch to finding Red Dwarf? Yeah.
Going, we need a stronger computer. If we could find Holly, we could he could figure something out to help you get back to your timeline, which of course, is funny in itself because Holly is Holly. That's a really good
idea, actually. Yeah, but yes, it would potentially work. There's a reason to have both things going on.
And it is, look, in Series 6, there were episodes that were like, hey, we've still got the trail of Red Dwarf. And then they didn't mention it again for the whole episode because something crazy happened. Yeah. But like, this was the reason that they were waking up in the morning, grabbing a beer for their cornflake breakfast. Like, and this doesn't, oh my God. I hate to do this. Grabbing a beer with your cornflakes for breakfast. You know what's nuts? Lister isn't doing that stuff anymore. And there would be comedy in him trying to do it but not get caught. Right? Because like he doesn't want to be, he didn't care if Rimmer saw him as a slob, but he doesn't want Kachansky to see him as a slob. So where are the jokes of like, Mr. Lister, your usual breakfast, a hot lager or a warm lager from last night with your cornflakes and Tabasco sauce, and her and him like, Crichton, what are you doing? That's what that guy. No. You give me my oatmeal and yogurt. And him like struggling to like.
Yeah.
Why isn't that?
You've had a little bit of that
comedy
in Ticket to Ride, haven't you? And that's about it. The reference to curry, and then it's kind of died off of the rest of that.
Yeah, but would it be like right now, as far as Kachansky's concerned, does she even know that Lister likes curry? Like, we haven't.
Well, yes, they do. Don't forget, we've had the whole curry thing in Pride and Prejudice world, so it's kind of in there.
But like that's nuts to me. Like, that should be part of the thing, is him just wanting to be gross, and he's had all these years to just be himself, and now he's got to be, wants to be good around her.
Yes.
Where's the, like,
yeah, there's no.
I feel like there were things that but again, this could come down to if she was a later ad than thought, combined with pulling Lister out.
Yeah.
Pulling Rimmer out. Yeah. Then maybe, they didn't have time to sit here and hash this stuff out.
And I think that's it. It kind of smacks of that. Although I do like the conversation at the beginning about, don't worry, there's plenty of people in history who've only got one arm, and I love that
classic dwarf.
My favorite bit is Kachansky's speech marks, but she only does it with one hand in one-handed speech marks. I love that. It's so subtle but so funny. There's a pop culture reference they could have dropped in here, but they didn't, and it just shows that Red Dwarf aren't on when they write the jokes, whether it's on purpose or not. Because you're a rock fan as well, Blake. If someone mentions a famous one-armed person, who's the first person that pops into your head?
Def Leppard, man, their drummer.
I wrote that, and that never gets mentioned. Yet we talk about Mr. Milo, who had pursued a very profitable career in modelling, which made me laugh. I
like that. What's the Welsh guy? Van Gogh?
Oh my God, Van Gogh. Yeah. See, that's funny. There's some funny jokes in this. The one-armed man from The Fugitive, well, he was a bad guy. Oh, well, yeah.
The one-armed bandit is so great.
That's funny as well. I watched Tracy's face because I'd watched this episode, and he's like, what about the Mexican guy who used to rob everyone? And I saw Tracy's face, it's like, what is he talking about? Because I knew what was coming. And it's like, the one-armed bandit. And she just went, oh.
So, this is a positive that I want to talk about for this episode. So what you and I just were kind of complaining about a little bit, this episode we have a problem, a serious problem. Lister is depressed. He has lost his right arm. And this is a serious problem we have to fix. Just like Lister and Rimmer crashing and having that episode together.
Marooned,
where they could die.
Yeah.
Yes, it's our comedy sitcom, and we know, but like that's the premise that they have to like work through. This one has serious stakes to it. And because there is something that the team needs to do, figure out how to help Dave, all of a sudden, there's classic dwarf comedy stuff happening, and what you're talking about. That whole opening scene, and I wrote this down. Finally, Kat's a character. Said stuff with Kat is paced so much better. It feels old school. Not first series or two, but him like with the one-armed bandit and all that stuff, like he's part of the crew. He's also trying to help out Lister, even though he's terrible at it. By the way, shout out to the previous episode. He's like, hey buddy, put her there. And puts his hand out to shake. It's such a Kat thing, but like Kat's done really well. And like you said, this whole bit with Crichton and Kachansky, and you know what's interesting? They don't like each other, but they're having to work together to try and help Dave. And because they've got something to literally do, this is better. This is funnier. Crichton babying Dave. Yes. Kachansky, maybe she does too much for hard love. Yeah. And then Kat is just oblivious. Like, I've been thinking a lot about,
when they're playing checkers.
If I lost my arm.
Yeah, when they're playing drafts.
If I lost an arm, how much would it change? Would it change your life? Yes, I think it would.
Yeah, it's actually, you're
such a
right. The
great-
more you start to look at that, the individual parts of this are very much more old school Red Dwarf. When he's
Yes!
like, move, and he's like, I don't know, it's like a bulldog. If a bulldog lost one of its legs, would the lady bulldog still find it attractive? He's like, move. And then he goes, move! And he's like, all right then, go, get out the way, or whatever. It's funny. Yeah, there's some. I love when he's got Lister with the napkin tucked into his t-shirt. He's like, another big bic, sir.
Another big
A big bic. I love that. It's so, and then he's like, tiny little dip, shakes it off. It's the little move. So he dip, and then shakes the excess tea off, and then gets him to bite, and then he dabs, It's funny.
Hearing you say this, I think now I realize why quarantine kept being in my head so much, because the circumstance of quarantine made some of my favorite comedy.
Yeah.
And this circumstance is actually creating the chance to have character-driven comedy.
Yes.
What is this called? A sitcom.
Yeah.
Boys and girls at home, that means situational comedy. And it feels a little bit like we had the trappings of a sitcom, but we weren't really... The situations weren't enough to have stronger stakes.
Yeah, the
in.
comedy was they were having to write the comedy to fit the situation rather than the situation giving you the comedy.
And to not go back to old series, we'll stick in this one. That's why the JFK one in Ticket to Ride works so well, because that's dark.
Yes.
That's some dark humor. Like somehow they make a funny punchline of, you have to go back and kill yourself. It'll make the conspiracy theories nuts.
Yes.
Like, but it's dark, but that's very, I don't know, that's a very classic Red Dwarf thing to me. And there's something in this episode that, because the circumstance is dealing with Lister's mental health and, you know, everything, and there's comedy in it, like he's not really helping himself and the whole Bic thing, but it makes me think of quarantine for like, yes, there is a situation that is bad, and it is forcing good comedy. Again, that conversation around the table that was about The Fugitive and the Venus de Milo and the One-Armed Bandit, that is a classic Red Dwarf moment.
Yes.
And I remember it. And there's not many of those I have in this series.
No.
You know, like that. I also, this cracked me up. Do you know what my favorite joke in this whole episode is?
Go on then, I need to know.
Crichton saying, trying to explain things. Let me think of a cogent paradigm. And Kat saying, I'd rather have a good example.
Yeah.
That is the kind of humor I freaking love. And it's been missing because also in that moment, Crichton is back to being science officer Crichton.
Yes.
He has confidence and like, and what's funny to say that, the note I wrote before that is really frustrated the step back Crichton took. It was great when he was considered the intelligent one, and that drove Rimmer crazy. I wish he had stayed that way. Kachansky would fight for that, or maybe Kachansky should fight for that role instead of him just regressing back to C-3PO, like a bad C-3PO. I wish they had kind of fought for that position. Instead, he gave it up so quickly. But in this episode, he really does old Crichton stuff. He is trying to figure out a solution. Oh my God. Classic Dwarf, him giving the new prosthetic arm to Lister. The whole, pick up the ball, sir. Just concentrate. Pick up the ball, sir. You just got to that scene does that thing where like, that's funny. It's gone on too long. It's gone on so long. It has now become funnier and they are committing how intense that like, oh, sir, pick up the ball. Go. Yes, sir. You're picking up the ball. So great and so classic Crichton because he cares. He really does care. So good. And then ending with the punch in the face is even, again, I'm sitting here going, did I grade this episode correctly? Because I'm liking it more even talking about it because I guess the frustration is you see these moments that should have been happening all season long.
Yes.
And while individually, this might not be as funny as the handkerchief line and bit in Quarantine.
No.
I still would see, if episodes were full of this, I'd be like, okay, cool. I'm still having fun. But this one, man, it's weird, dude. I really was bored watching this on my second go through, but talking about it right now,
Agreed.
I'm realizing I enjoy. This was actually in some ways a bit of a breath of fresh air.
But
compared
I think
to
so. To play devil's advocate, the episode as a whole no.
What's that phrase? Greater than some of its parts, but this is the reverse.
Yes.
The parts are better than its sum.
Yes, agreed. There's some really good moments in it, but as an episode overall, it kind of it's like the bit. It's kind of similar to your handkerchief bit where he's like, I have to be on 24-hour wipe alert, and I haven't had time. And she's like, wipe alert? Do you know what? Don't even tell me. I don't want to know. Yeah. I love that. But then it would have, the fact that he clarifies would have been funnier because he's like, I'm in his mouth, Mom. I have to give him the crumbs around his mouth. I think if they'd have just left it, that she would just go, wipe alert. No, do you know what? Don't even tell me. I don't even want to know what that means. It just grosses me out even thinking about it. And just leave it at that would have been funnier. There is one of my favourite Crichton head-shaped jokes in this episode. And Kat refers to him as half-eaten lollipop head.
Yes.
Hey, half-eaten lollipop head. And I was like, oh my God, that's brilliant. Because it's exactly what his head looks like, where it kind of gets rounded off on the sides. It's perfect.
So why do we have all these jokes? Is it because the scenario is important?
I think so. Like you said, if you do a normal episode, you're having to write jokes that just happen to fit in. Whereas when you've got, especially, so this is very much a British thing as well, when someone's down on their ass, taking the piss out of whatever that thing is such a British thing. So to find humour in the darkest moments is truly British. So in reality, maybe not to the extent that they're doing it in this, and not to like someone losing an arm, but something similar would bring out the snark and the humour in that situation. So it kind of fits better that they're using the situation to make comedy rather than having to make comedy to make the situation, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like I think some of my favorite comedies really are just, here's this messed up situation, and how do these people deal with it?
Because that's how people deal with
it is. You familiar with the American show Scrubs?
Yes, I haven't watched a ton of it, but I do know it.
So Scrubs, just for those who might not, it is a very, slapstick's the wrong word. It's a very goofy look at people working together in a hospital, and it's hysterical and funny, and the people are so crazy and stupid acting. But I've seen doctors say, actually, this is the most realistic portrayal, because if we don't find humor and stuff, we'd all go insane in our jobs, especially in the emergency room where these guys like work and stuff. Like he said, we'd all go nuts. And so this is actually weirdly more accurate to our relationships with each other than most doctor shows are. So yeah, I love this kind of humor.
Yeah, well, then I always say if you want to really find out what sort of British friend humor is like, people just ribbing each other and literally having each other's lives, the In-Betweeners is the perfect example. That is exactly what everyone is like with each other. They're your best friends, but yet you give them more crap than you give anybody else, because that's just the way we are.
And you know this, Lee, but my sister has just immigrated, or she now works over in England, so I've got a 5-year-old niece and a 2-year-old nephew, and I'm just praying, especially at 2 years old, I'm like, oh man, I want that kid to get fully English corrupted and have the best fun time with him. I need him to pick up his accent. I want him to be like taking the piss out of people is just what he knows growing up. I'm looking forward to it so much.
He's going to come back to America at some point and be completely alienated because people just don't get it. I've had so many of my American friends where I will be how I am with people, and I'll say something to someone the way I normally say something, and then one of my other friends will come and go, so and-so's just come over and like, was Lee angry with me there? And he's like, oh no, dude, that's just their humor. Honestly, he's fine. You'll know if he's not, because it's so like, we're so self-deprecating, but then also friend-deprecating. It's such a sarcastic, horrible, nasty sense of humor.
Okay, my favorite thing about doing this show with you is how we sound like we just go off on a tangent, but then somehow it actually applies to what we're talking about. So I felt like you just hit me like a ton of bricks when you said that. That's really lacking out of this series.
People being sarcastic towards each other.
Well, I mean,
There isn't. You're right, actually.
You get it. I mean, like with Lister's, like, what are you thinking of? Well, I'm thinking of a baseball bat, and whatever he says when he doesn't like cats. Answer, but like, is that happened a bunch in this?
No, not when you think back.
It stoked me a clipper. Yes, like it happens in.
But no, not like it used to. And that was what a lot of the episodes were predicated on, was that banter between the characters of just being towards each other.
And the general underlying premise of, okay, you might get frustrated with people at work, but you go home, decompress, whatever. Here, they're stuck with all of each other. And even Crichton had the feeling of like, being stuck with the same people all the time, and we've kind of lost that premise, quite a bit.
Yeah, but I think that's because you've lost the main antagonist.
Yes,
Rimmer was the main crux of most of those feelings, and he's not there anymore. So maybe that's where you lose a lot of that bouncing off each other, just being crappy to each other, because he's not there winding everybody up.
Well, like, and I can't go back to Quarantine, but I think of like Crichton telling Dave, Lister, like, hey, this is why this is so bad, what he's done to us, because, the male species, whatever, needs time on their own. And of course, they need time to do this or that. And of course, the number one alone activity or whatever. And Kat says, it's true, bud. If, two male tigers get locked in a cage at the zoo, one of them ends up in the other one's toothpick. Kat was a smart player. See, in that instance, Kat knew exactly what he was talking about.
Yeah.
So Kat isn't stupid.
No.
He is smart about the things he understands.
Yes.
When Crichton explains that, and Lister's like, no, we're humans. I'm a human. We're elevated above this. And Kat's like, no, you're not, dude. I'm from an animal. I know I'm from an animal. I know what happened. And so, and even Rimmer, right? Rimmer was this mess, but he was expert about some things. Lister, a streetwise kind of common sense smart. Crichton, hey, he might be a cleaner, but he's a droid with a computer for a brain. Yes. He's really smart. So I said in the previous episode how Kachansky, it's like a shame because they didn't really give her like this good flaw. That's the thing. But also, we've lost from the boys of the dwarf their expertise to an extent. And we're finally seeing some of that again in this episode. Crichton being smart again. Kat going, I may be doing this the way it would work for a cat instead of a human, but my buddy needs help. So he tries.
Yeah.
It's not good, but he confidently tries to like help out. And you see it work. Again, if this was episode 3, you'd be like, all right, okay, they're building this premise. Did we unlock what's been bothering us? Because I'd also say back in series 1 and 2, you didn't have series premises. So it's not like that's always the formula of Red Dwarf.
Yeah.
It's in series 1 and 2, it was more traditional sitcom that bounced a little into doing a bit more with the story. But then you could feel that series 3 and 4, they're like, well, we can't just keep doing that. It stays the same. So they got a little more adventurous with things that kind of culminated in the end of series 6. And I think this series 7 trying so hard to step back to series 1, is that the problem?
Maybe, like I said to you, I feel like the earlier episodes were Doug Naylor stretching and doing what Doug Naylor likes to do. And I was like, okay, I like Doug Naylor. Maybe they're the moments of Red Dwarf that I like the most. But like we've also said that when he's just left to stretch what he wants to do, there's no one to rein him in, and it loses. We've said it, haven't it? He's probably the comedy guy, and then Rob Grant's the sort of story guy. And losing that, the episodes they weren't going anywhere, and I think that's why this one maybe feels better than I think we initially give it credit for, because it kind of is going somewhere. Yeah,
it is going somewhere, and it's not even about finding Red Dwarf at the end. To be honest, it's the trying to help Dave. Really, the nanites, all this, none of it matters. It's trying to help Dave. It is somewhere to go. It has got a thing to do, and that's why Stoke Me a Clipper's good.
Yeah,
he's trying to build up Rimmer. Yeah. Right.
I am intrigued because I don't remember whether we go into Series 8 with bodybuilder Lister or not, because I don't remember. If obviously not, but how they explain that he's now not.
Oh, right. How does that happen?
I do have a question, though. Obviously, we wanted to bring Holly back. So why did we bring Norman Lovett Holly back and not Hattie Hayridge Holly back?
Who knows as far as availability? I mean, they lost him due to availability earlier on. But it might just be, hey, that desire to push back to Series 1 and Norman Lovett's available. Let's do it.
It felt weird. Do you not think it felt weird? It didn't feel like Holly. It felt, I don't know.
Well, it also didn't feel earned. It was literally out of nowhere.
Yes.
And again, they didn't mention it. Like, again, if the thing had been, let's go back on the hunt for Red Dwarf Kachansky, because if we could find Holly, we could, maybe he could help us figure out how to get you back home.
But then it makes sense that if the nanobots were to recreate Red Dwarf, that Holly would be part of that.
Right. And then I love it. Then they dust Holly. Well, just after they left me.
Yeah. Like, it was funny. But I did think that the whole thing was clever, that it was, so the nanobots like created the massive version of Red Dwarf, this big planetoid thing with everything else, when the actual version of Red Dwarf is a tiny thing, and that's why they were struggling to find it.
So that explanation that like they wanted to go on an adventure, the nanobots, so they made the little Red Dwarf, and the leftover parts they put back. Was the first time you watched it, was that clear to you?
I don't know, honestly.
Because I knew that's what they did from having seen it years ago, but I was like, God, they really didn't explain. They waved over that so fast.
Does it matter?
And
really? I know it doesn't, but it kind of does.
They didn't say like the nanites wanted to go on an adventure. I don't know. I feel like I'm inferring more.
Yeah.
Than I was shown, and it's such a big idea. Now, I love the idea of this like super high technology, and Crichton just rummaging his like jar in the laundry, and the way he does it makes me laugh. I don't know why, but whatever that Robert Llewellyn thing, the way he just the way he moves his arms,
and I go test
in
this
that
one
thing.
Nope.
Oh God,
again,
just
it's funny. Yeah,
super funny to me.
I think it definitely, if they could have somehow tightened this episode up and then just kind of quickly done the beginning of the previous episode and somehow found a way to mash them together, I think we would have had a really good episode. It's the fact that it's been spread out over two. It felt like they've stretched it out because they've got time to fill, rather than doing 8 episodes because they've got 8 episodes worth of content. We're just going to have to stretch it out.
Remember us saying like in previous episodes, previous series, like, gosh, so much happened in this episode.
Yes.
Like, man, like that you thought like in Terraform where Rimmer is with the creature. I thought that bit was longer, but in truth, it was, the show is almost split into thirds.
Yeah.
But like it was,
we've said that a lot.
So much happened.
Yeah.
And in these,
not a lot happens.
I don't know, Lee, though. Could you really do that with these 2 episodes? Would you get like a 45-minute episode? But honest, I think Old Dwarf could have done the Epideme losing his arm and this in an episode.
Easily.
Something else I miss are the cold opens, which didn't happen as much in Series 6 either. A lot of Series 6 did have a cold open, but it tied into the overall story. But I miss the cold opens, just that, again, my favorite will always be I think, Wilma Flintstone's the most desirable woman.
Of course.
But it gave the feeling of what life is like most of the time. Yeah. And then now you're about to see an exciting moment, right?
Yeah.
And we have no sense of what life is like on the ship now that Kachansky's here.
No.
There is an inference that maybe it's been a few months at this point. I don't get the idea that it was like 3 days ago finding her. But I do miss the like feeling of what's been going on in Dwarf. Oh my God. I forgot. There's another good bit in here. Speaking of classic Red Dwarf humor, especially with Kat. Again, I don't know why Kat is written. I don't know what's happened that Kat is written so much better in this than the previous 7 episodes.
Yeah.
But that whole Crichton going, well, sir, we've been here before. And Kat saying, of course we have. It's a cockpit, dummy. We come here all the time. My God. That is such a great line. Like, it's such a great cat line where you're like, yeah, that's a joke and it's a punchline, but such earnest, like, you know, I don't know why
But then,
8 episodes to get to doing cat better when he's been here.
Yeah, but then you get that one where they go down onto the planet and he gets out and they come back and he's like, it's crazy out there. And it's like, what are you looking for? And I can't remember exactly what. He's like, no, I'm looking for a comb because his hair's all over the place. There we go.
Yeah.
The typical cat joke. There's some weird, like the whole joke with the sweets where it keeps sticking.
Oh, I wrote that down. This is the sweet with the fur on it that he tries to eat that gets spit into his face by the wind.
Yeah, I thought that was weird.
Very, very series 1 where we would go, they're just trying to make a joke happen too hard right here.
Yeah.
In an episode that didn't need it.
No.
I think the joke was done when he wiped it on his thing and then it was full of fur. He should have just thrown it out the window. And I think it would have been funnier if it stuck on her.
Oh, if it had been Lister, let's be honest, he'd have wiped it on his shirt, covered it in fluff, and gone, and chucked it in his mouth.
Yeah, well, which he does. But then he goes to spit it out.
Yeah.
And that's when the whole thing, you're like, it's
There's
like
some weird, yeah.
There's a joke here, but it's
oversold a little bit.
Yeah, I know we have to do the buggy, which we've never seen before, and we have to get on the planet Toyd to find out that it's Red Dwarf.
Yes.
But it feels like they did the buggy just to make the candy bit happen. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Instead of going, what's a funny conversation that can happen between Kachansky and Dave? Because, you know.
Like, you didn't even need that whole section, really. You could have just, like, we're going down and then have them come back on and, you know, cut that whole bit out. It was very forced.
And you said, Crichton, you're never going to believe what we found.
Yes.
You know.
Like, I have that weird, it kind of reminds me of, is it Thanks for the Memory, where there's that weird insert shot where they get the black box out?
Oh,
like
yes,
that bit.
yes.
It feels like they could have done something similar to that, because that's still weird.
Even if it was just like, sir, it is dangerous, down below. Recommend I go, and with his extra senses, the cat. You've lost your arm. You stay here and stay safe.
Yeah, I mean.
And you could still have the conversation between Kachansky and Lister, and then those two show back up and go, hey, this is what we found.
Yeah.
It's, but it felt like, no, we got to do this thing because it'd be really funny.
And it
this
really
candy
wasn't.
bit. And you're like, it's okay. I'm just saying, if it were Lister and Rimmer, Lister would have spit it out and it would have flown and hit Rimmer in the face.
I would have been able to hit Rimmer in the face. He's a hologram. It would have gone through him.
Well, no, but hard light when he was hard
true,
light.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what I mean? Because if he were on the mission, he'd be hard light. And also, like, the cat going out to go look for stuff, I found strange. I was like, man, I feel like...
Yeah, why would it... to be fair, Lister wouldn't go. That's why it made more sense for Crichton to be down there.
Yeah, it does. And again, that's super nitpicking, but it is just...
weird choices that have been made.
Well, they've worked so hard to establish how things work that it feels a little bit of just dropping some things for the sake of, hey, we got this funny bit with candy that we want to do. We think this would be really funny. That was literally the last note I wrote.
There's not a lot. The last note I wrote was a really long-winded way of getting back to Red Dwarf.
Well, yeah, isn't that what's funny? So all this stuff, and you find the planet, and crazy how it all ties back to reality. Series 5, Ender, with the despair squid.
Yeah.
Or, or Series 5, Episode 5.
Yeah.
But, like, it is a better episode than we have seen thus far.
Yeah. Well,
after episode 2.
Yeah.
Because there are stakes, and it is creating comedy within the moment.
Yes.
That as opposed to inventing a moment.
But still isn't a great episode by any stretch.
No, it's not. But at least it feels like it lives in the world of Red Dwarf. And then all of a sudden, you see giant, puffed up, muscular Lister. And that's a funny punchline.
Yeah.
Although isn't it weird that he sees himself in the mirror and freaks out? Like, I'm surprised, like, oh, nice. And does I don't know.
Maybe he doesn't. He's a slob. So maybe he prides himself on his slobby appearance and is like, I don't want to do that.
Because I was like, this is funny. Like, but the reaction is, it would have been funny if he was like, I look terrible. And I don't know.
Or what if it had been like Kachansky going,
Yeah, pulling like Chris Evans from Captain America when he transforms.
Yeah.
And Peggy Carter's like, oh.
Yeah. There's no reaction from any character that you kind of would expect from that character.
And I get it's a nod to, well, you've grown by 300%.
Yes.
Or you've improved by 300%. And so, of course, I like the alone bit with Kat hey guys, look at the red dwarf or whatever. And he's like, guys. And then it's obviously 300% larger or whatever than it was.
Which I can't remember how that plays into the next episode.
I do remember this. I do remember this bit.
So I will say the interesting fact that we alluded to on the last one of how disparaging...
Is this insane or what?
How disparaging we've been on this series, and how most Red Dwarf fans are disparaging on this series, that according to IMDb, the viewing figures for these episodes had reached over 8 million viewers, and the series, because of that, had also gained a Sunday night repeat, and these were the highest ratings gathered so far. And yet it's a universally hated series in the franchise.
So that is it because the show, it was gone for a bit? This is like
and people
Star
were
Wars.
Just desperate for anything.
Right. Yeah. They were desperate for episode 1 and went bananas because it just had been years.
Yeah.
Like, is it because it was years? But according to this, it sustained it. And this finale had great ratings.
Yeah. It's so weird, isn't it? For like arguably the worst, well, maybe not even arguably, the worst series to date.
But is it fine? Because again, we've mentioned on several other pods, we watch things differently now. And
True.
At that time, you could have been brand new, introduced to Dwarf, and this is all you've seen and know, and you have a very different feeling about this.
But then it's not well liked by the fans either, though. Not just us watching it now, just in general.
No, but I mean, like, to get better ratings means you get more than just fans. You get your normies.
Oh,
right?
yes.
Like,
okay. Yeah. Maybe.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
possibly.
Are those people like, oh, hey, yeah, this is fun.
Yeah.
I don't know what else was on in 1997. Is this better than most?
Yeah, maybe.
Where are we at? It's just a nice bit of distraction and it's fun, which kind of alludes to my opening. The reason I wrote it, it was said to myself as well as anything else. It is funny though, to bring Hall back at the very end as a tag into what's coming, which of course I assume would get people excited about Series 8.
Yes.
But man, if you were going to lose Rimmer, why? And you could have made the plot about continuing to look for Red Dwarf, but why not find a clue at some point and get Hall back within the series somewhere?
Yeah, rather than literally like the last 10 minutes of the last episode. And bear in mind, we're talking about a series that's got 2 more episodes than the average series.
Yeah. You've got he's back and kicking butts. I do love his first line is, all right, dudes.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
like, so good to see Norman Lovett again. Oh, it's what's funny? We're now in this day and age of reboots and not, or what do they call it? When it's not a true reboot, like Force Awakens was for Star Wars.
Soft
reboot or whatever.
It has an actual name, doesn't it? I can't think what it is now.
But it's these legacy sequels where you lean on nostalgia a whole bunch. And it is funny because it's 97. We're 2 years away from episode 1, or has episode 1 already come out? I can't remember.
96, I think. No, it 96. No, hang on. 2004, episode 3 came out. I don't know is the honest answer.
And I won't call that a legacy sequel because it was doing a whole different new thing.
1999, so 2 years,
99.
yeah.
So you're a couple years away from that. But at that point, that was a prequel. We weren't at legacy sequels like 30 year later Top Gun and however long later, at Force Awakens and stuff. But this one has some of that feeling, right? Hey, you remember Holly? He's back. You remember this? It's back. And it's kind of interesting to see that at this early stage.
Yeah.
I'm remembering, I think the next series is also 8 episodes. I do believe it's kind of distinct. And I think the first 1 or 2 are very distinct. And then they shift.
Isn't it back to the it should be in the show notes. Why don't I just scroll ahead and have a look? Back in the red part 1. There you go.
Yeah.
Just look in the show notes. Don't Google it.
Oh, we start with the back part 1. That's right. See, so it is like a 2-part, So I look forward to getting to those. In fact, I might even jump on those quicker than I usually do and start watching because I usually wait till the week that we're going to record or like a week from recording.
I don't. Yeah, I usually watch them. I'm not at work till next week, so normally I would rewatch. Like I would watch the next episode pretty much immediately, like the next day. But I can't. I could do that, but I probably won't. I'll watch them next week.
It's just interesting, man. This has been a weird series to look at.
Very much.
Forward to 8, where conceit is the conceit a bit more.
It's not going to get changed. It is what it is. The characters are the characters at this point. You're not going to get any surprise changes. It should be like we know we've got, I'm assuming, Holly, Kachansky, Lister, Kat, and Crichton going into it, and we're writing for those characters, and it should be a bit more consistent.
Yeah, I feel like it's much better for Kachansky, if I remember correctly. Yeah. It's much better for her on that front.
Okie dokie. Wow.
Yeah.
57 minutes at this point, Blake, by the way.
Well, we definitely did more than I thought we'd do for these 2 episodes.
Oh, yeah,
I hope
too.
For those of you listening, they didn't repeat each other too bad.
I don't think we did.
Yeah. Man, this one gets so much closer to being like Red Dwarf. I do think I did not appreciate that while watching it.
Yeah,
but having my notes that I wrote down all these jokes I liked, and then talking with you here, I do see like, yeah, things work better when there is a reason, that something is going on.
Yes.
And especially when it's kind of a reason that, while played for laughs, technically is kind of serious. Like his mental health around this whole loss of his arm and everything. Yeah. All right. Well, Lee, I mean, we've wrapped up another series. Which one of these makes it into your top 5?
Well, surprisingly enough, none of them. Although I did really like, in hindsight, I don't know whether... See, I did really like Ticket to Ride and Stoke Me a Clipper. But I don't know whether that's now because of hindsight of like, they were really good episodes in comparison to the 6 episodes that we got out of it. So they were by far the superior episodes for this series. But will any of them make it into my top 5 and I like oust out any of the ones that are already there? No, not even remotely.
Yeah, no, same. My top 5 remains unchanged.
What are you giving this episode, by the way? Because we haven't done that yet.
I must be feeling generous.
Oh.
I was going to do a 5. I'll give it a 6 out of 10 because the drive of the story is like what I wrote. The drive of the story picks this one up from the previous. And this has been lacking since the Ace episode. It's a better story that seems to like have made the jokes a bit more refined and motivated why they're happening better. So I will give this a 6 out of 10. I'll go just above.
You still weren't sure there, were you? You still was like
nope. 6.
I'm going to give it a 5 because it was better than I initially thought on my viewing, having talked it through, but it still wasn't quality Red Dwarf in my opinion. It was all right. It was all right.
It got the extra point for let me think of a cogent paradigm. I take a good example. That's where it gets my extra point for 6.
Okay, doke.
All right. Well, that'll bring us to the end of this podcast. It went out like a whimper, kind of like this series.
Yeah.
Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Dwarf Memory and Twitter at Dwarf_Memory for all show updates.
Please give us a New Year review. So please go and subscribe, rate and review the show wherever you can and send us into 2026 as well as we can, even though this is the 2nd episode of 2026, but whatever. And email us your comments to dwarfmemory@gmail.com.
The next episode we will be discussing will be the first episode of Series 8, which will be Back in the Red Part 1. Make sure to watch before you join us for the next episode. Also, there's a cooking special in here that happens. I'll have to see where it happened at. If it happened between these episodes or what, that was quite funny. I'll have to send your way.
Oh, interesting. Cool. Release me, Blake. I've got to see it.
They probably didn't mean any harm. I think they were trying to make up for before. We'll get them to have another go, okay?
Ah!
Oh, right. Nice rebuild. Those nano dudes have done a real neat job. Hey, it seems even bigger than I remember. Lee, we got a problem.